Commander Zix Thaler's 6 eyes focused intently on the holographic display before her, each pupil dilating independently as she processed the impossible data streaming across the bridge of the hegemony vessel's silent convergence. The sleek, crystalline ship had been monitoring the outer rim systems for 3 solar cycles, cataloging the primitive species that had recently achieved faster-than-light travel. "Analysis complete, Commander," reported her tactical officer, Vorth. His tentacles writhed nervously as he transmitted the scan results directly to her neural implant. "The human vessel designated UES Defiance has been thoroughly examined." Zix Thaler had expected another routine survey of a backward species, perhaps some crude fusion reactors, basic energy weapons, and the typical signs of a civilization barely worthy of the hegemony's attention. What she received instead made her exoskeleton shiver with an emotion she hadn't felt in decades: pure primal fear. The human warship was wrong. Everything about it defied logic, violated the natural order that governed civilized warfare across the galaxy. Where other species built their vessels with redundancy and safety margins, humans had apparently decided that the concept of survivability was negotiable. "Vorth," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the ship's harmonic thrum. "Tell me this data is corrupted." "Verified through 7 independent scans, Commander. The readings are accurate." The first anomaly was the ship's power source. Instead of the stable, predictable fusion cores used by every spacefaring civilization in the known galaxy, the humans had installed what could only be described as a barely contained stellar collapse. Their reactor didn't generate power, it wrestled with the fundamental forces of reality itself, forcing matter and antimatter to annihilate in a cascade of controlled devastation that should have vaporized everything within 1,000 kilometers. But that was merely the beginning of the horror. The weapons systems defied every principle of civilized warfare. Where the hegemony used precision plasma lances designed to disable and capture, humans had mounted what appeared to be miniaturized stars on rotating platforms. Their kinetic bombardment system was nothing more than telephone pole-sized tungsten rods accelerated to significant fractions of light-speed weapons that could crack continents and were, by any reasonable measure, crimes against physics itself. Zix Thaler's compound eyes tracked across the schematic of the human crew quarters, and she felt her respiratory spiracles constrict. The life support systems were a masterpiece of redundant lethality. If the primary atmosphere failed, emergency systems would flood the corridors with a gaseous mixture that was simultaneously corrosive, toxic, and explosive. The humans had apparently decided that if they were going to die, they would take their ship and anyone boarding it with them. "Commander," Vorth's mental voice carried undertones of barely suppressed panic. "There's more." The tactical display shifted, revealing the most disturbing aspect of the human vessel, its crew. The biological scans showed beings that had systematically violated their own evolutionary limitations. Cybernetic implants networked their nervous systems into the ship's consciousness, creating a hybrid entity that blurred the line between organic crew and artificial intelligence. Their bones had been replaced with metallic composites. Their blood carried nanoscale repair systems that could reconstruct tissue damage in real time. They had turned themselves into living weapons. But it was the psychological profiles that truly chilled Zix Thaler's essence. The humans didn't just accept the possibility of death in combat, they embraced it. Their cultural data streams spoke of concepts like martyrdom and going down with the ship. They had elevated self-destruction to an art form, weaving it so thoroughly into their military doctrine that surrender wasn't merely discouraged, it was literally impossible for their enhanced warriors to contemplate. "How many of these vessels do they possess?" she asked, though she dreaded the answer. "Intelligence estimates suggest several thousand, Commander. And they're building more." Zix Thaler closed her eyes, all 6 of them, and felt the weight of cosmic horror settle upon her consciousness. The galaxy had spent millennia developing rules of engagement, protocols for civilized conflict that preserved infrastructure and minimized casualties. Wars were fought with precision, decided by superior strategy and technology, concluded with negotiated settlements that benefited all parties. Humans had apparently never received that memo. These weren't warriors, in any sense that a civilized mind could comprehend. They were living embodiments of mutually assured destruction, being so thoroughly militarized that their very existence constituted a weapon of mass extinction. They didn't just fight wars, they were wars, walking contradictions of biology and technology that treated their own mortality as ammunition. "Orders, Commander?" Vorth's query cut through her terrified contemplation. Zixthala straightened her primary spine and made the only rational decision available to someone who had glimpsed the true nature of humanity's military philosophy. Set course for Hegemony Central. Maximum displacement speed. She paused, allowing her words to carry the full weight of her terror. And prepare a priority alpha communication to the Council. Classification existential threat. What should we tell them, Commander? That we have encountered a species that has weaponized suicide and called it honor. That they have built ships designed not to win wars, but to ensure that victory comes at a price no sane civilization would ever pay. As the silent convergence folded space around itself and vanished into the quantum foam, Zixthala allowed herself one final look at the human warship. It hung in space like a metal predator, beautiful and terrible, a testament to a species that had looked at the concept of proportional response and decided it was for other people. The humans were coming, and they had already won. The only question remaining was whether the galaxy would survive their version of peace.